April 30th. On the paper. April 30th, 2013 at 6:06. Those who would, please join us in the pledge, the prayer.
Please bow. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day that you have created for us. Father, we thank you for the many blessings of life. Father, we thank you for the sunshine and the warm day that we've had today. Father, we just ask that you would guide these men and women as they undertake the city's business, their decision to be in the best interest of the citizens. Father, we ask these things in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ.
Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may all be seated. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda.
Move to approve.
Second.
I would like to defer items relating to workshop, item 7A, item 7B. And I'd also like to remove items 8C. Are there any other changes, additions, or deletions to the agenda tonight? All those in favor?
Aye.
Next item is citizens' comments.
Mayor, there are no citizens' comments tonight.
Item number 4 is awards and recognitions.
Mayor, there are no staff awards or recognitions this evening.
I would like to inform, we have been given by Kevin the top 12 American boom towns, and this is not Rusher Bloomberg. And under number 8 is Nashville, Davidson, Franklin, Tennessee, which puts the Middle Tennessee area, and it speaks about all of the growth and the expansion and the Nashville Metropolitan Planning Organization, which Fairview is a part of and very actively involved in. It's known for its music industry, pop, gospel, rock, which has pumped billions of dollars into the local economy. The Nissan Motors headquarters are here. The healthcare industry is also a big employer. As a publishers of Thomas Nelson, Bible printer, unemployment is relatively low at 6.4%. And the population of that middle, or at least that Davidson County area, is 1.7 million people. So as they grow and they support the boom towns of America, that just shines lights on Fairview. So wanted to congratulate Middle Tennessee and all that they're doing to put us on the map. Any other awards or recognitions?
Our city, state city.
Yes, sir. I'd like to highlight, we have a state seal down below, and that was given to us by Senator Jack Johnson and our state representative, Jeremy Durham. And they just gave us a good gesture for us to have, and it looks beautiful on our podium. And if anyone can say thank you to them, it is appropriate to do so. I just wanted to call the attention and say thank you for their support and the ability for us to serve with them as we make Tennessee a great place. Item number 5 is public announcements.
Mayor, I do have one, I feel very important, we did speak just on the board about a vacancy. We do have several vacancies on about 4 or 5 boards. We've listed them on our website, taken applications. Hopefully we'll get some by the first part of June. These current positions expire, their terms expired June 30th, so we're in need of getting additional interest. And we do take applications all year long, so in case somebody drops out, moves, decides not to serve any longer, we can propose someone else. So we would like to encourage the community to volunteer and to help us as we do conduct the city's business. Thank you.
Thank you. I would like to make a public announcement about the Keep America Beautiful collaboration with Keep Williamson Beautiful, with the strong statement of Keep Fairview Beautiful. The Fairview Chamber of Commerce is having the clean sweep on Saturday, all public, all civic, all school, everyone's invited. It's May 4th, Bank of America parking lot from 8 to 12. and you come out and show your Jacket Pride or your Fairview Pride with your family. We have grabbers and vest and everything that's needed to take a little bit of time to show your pride in Fairview. And we will meet there at 8 o'clock, give everyone direction. There will be transportation. There will be police coverage for your safety. And we look forward to making it a great community morning, showing that we want to take care of Fairview. And that is at Bank of America on Saturday at 8 a.m. Any other public announcements? Moving on, approval of the minutes. We have the minutes of the April 4th, 2013 public hearing. What are the wishes of the board?
Move approve.
Second.
First, second, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item 6B is the minutes for the April 4th, 2013 Board of Commissioner meeting.
Move approve.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Moving on to old business, 7C, discuss and/or take action on staff recommendation on city streets to be paved. City Manager Hyatt?
Thank you, Mayor. We have come up with what we feel like is a pretty good list, but as we've looked, we weren't thinking about King Road, and Kevin can speak to it in just a little bit. He's kind of come up with some calculations on the cost that we anticipate. Of course, once you put it out for bid, you never know what's going to come in. But we have had a rough winter with water, and King Road seems to have taken a large hit on that, and we've put that on the list. Hall Road has been one that's been in need for some time. We put New Hope Pass on here strictly because of the ability to pave a smaller road, hopefully, but those three combined are $256,124 is the estimate that we've gotten together based off of some calculations that Kevin has gotten together. And Kevin, if you want to come address or speak to any of this or answer any questions that the board may have.
Good evening. These calculations are based on the low bids that we received for the Bowie Lake Road widening project. The only thing that's not shown on here on King Road, if milling is going to be needed, it'll increase probably that cost to about another $12,000 on top of the 209. So to mill 1 mile, 20-foot wide roadway is about $6,000. And then they don't care if you mill 100 feet or a mile just to get it there. They're anticipating you are going to mill a mile, $6,000. Based on that, it's about a mile and just over a mile and a half, so it's about 2 days. So we're looking at about $12,000 to mill on top of that if that's what's required on King Road. I'm open to any other roadways that y'all might be interested in. I can run the calculations and extend on this spreadsheet, and we can talk about it. And then also with the striping, this is actually just striping the outside of the lanes and the middle of the lane. So you could do just middle center lines, or if we don't want to do the white lines on the outside, we can do that as well, and the price will decrease.
So the $850 is the outside in the middle?
Yes, that's the top-notch striping package.
Okay.
This is, the money to pay for this will be from a budget already approved or next year's
That's
budget?
the
Combination.
combination.
We have under streets the $262,643, which is the 12 and 13 budget for paving, correct?
Correct. We have, well, that's what's in the streets. We put in the budget this year, I think we have 113,000 left based off of some of the other things we've done. We put 25 in for next year, so we'd have to come up out of that figure with potentially a little additional money to pay the difference. If we just did King Road, we're looking at around $200,000 total. As we stand here now, that's without putting it out for bid.
What's the anticipation for the road fund next year? Do we have any clues? I know it's based on off the taxes and population and
We get roughly 220,000 that has in the past paid for street aid, street department, and maybe that.
so how much out of next year's budget are we looking for?
Potentially, approximately, if we just did the one road, just King Road, it would probably be about $80,000.
How about all of it?
If we did, well, the top part is going to come out of some STP funds and some of that MPO money. To do the 256, all three of those, you're looking at another, I guess, 120,000 or something.
And obviously, King Road is your top priority, the road that would need. What so all the ones in the yellow highlight are the ones that you would say, what order would that go?
I think King Road's in the highest need right now.
Okay.
It's almost a one, and the others are just down the list at some point. There's not, those two are not as big a need because of the traffic volume that we see on King Road.
With the high school. And that takes it down to the stop sign at, that's Henry
I
Lane.
believe that's correct.
Henry Lane. That'll be all the way down there.
My first statement would be, hold on. Because construction's not done. That'd be my first statement. My second statement would be that mix on the top was a bad mix, and that was known when it was done. So that's that panic area, and it is
Right.
excessive because of the school traffic.
Right.
So before I would be, I mean, depending on if you're saying this is something you would start in the next 6 months,
Yes.
I would say that's not smart because there's still construction taking place, but it could be done within a year. Okay, and that's just saying
Absolutely.
that's definitely something to think about in the big picture.
Yes.
That is
All
correct.
right, the next thing that I would ask is, in any of the roads, as we discussed in a workshop, in any of the roads that are being asphalted, is any consideration being done with the shoulders or any type of maintenance of the road that are all of these roads up to spec?
As far as spec, TDOT spec,
The current road specs in Fairview? Because we don't want to, as we discussed, we don't want to pave over a road that's not up to spec and not have that part of our project. I
Without-
don't think that's the big
without going
picture.
out there and probably coring some samples, there's a good chance that it's not within spec. We'd have, like on King Road, we'd have to probably mill it, but it would take, I'm not an asphalt expert. I'm planning on attending some courses to have a better grasp on it, but to get the right person out there to look at it would be to make that assessment.
Okay.
But the
About
most calls
widths
I
and
get,
stuff.
the most calls I do get are people down King Road.
And I would say the widths, right, the shoulders, the ditches, there's some discussion, we've had discussion on cleaning ditches out. We've looked at several areas where the roads obviously need to be a little more widened a little bit. I'm not exactly sure if King Road is to the required spec. And I'm not gonna assume, but I would think that it is because of the high volume of traffic, but that's not anything it's not scientific, it's just my opinion.
I would
Not
think,
yet.
and board speak here, but if you spend $200,000, $300,000, $500,000 on doing a road project and walk away from it and it's not up to city specs, I would say, okay, did we miss something? And I would hope that the entire project would be the focus.
The intent was not just to go repave the street. I mean, we have to assess the actual existing roadway, what makes the base course and everything else. But coming back from strictly cosmetic roadworthiness complaints, these are the roads that I've.
And that's very valuable in the process, I agree. No, I'm not shortening that. Then I would also, when you ask for additional road to look into, would be your Lake Road and your Northwest.
Correct.
And those being city streets. Is any of it in the county? I mean, farther, okay. Those being city streets that may not meet specs, and if that's a focus on our bringing people in and around, that's definitely part of our road project.
Correct.
My question is, if you just surface with the MPO money, will they allow you, with the grant money that we have currently, will they allow you to do upgrades on roads also with that? Or is it mix only?
The contract that we have with TDOT is for resurfacing only.
Mix only.
It's not for any upgrades. To upgrade the roads to city specs, you'd have to have curb and gutter and sidewalks on both sides of the street to be exactly meet our standards.
Well, that's saying we go to absolute standards, and I hear where you're saying, but it could be something that's approved. We can talk about that in a different fashion, but I hear what you're saying.
Essentially,
Other
they are up-
conversation.
They are up to standards because they were at the standard when they were built. So they're
Yes.
grandfathered in. But if we're gonna spend the money to widen them, then we owe it to the people to put the sidewalk in front of their house too. a lot of money
And some of those sidewalks are tied up in the safe route to school, at least down in Cumberland.
Good point.
One thing we might want to take from here tonight, instead of a decision to go forth with paving, is maybe to direct staff to go back and say, okay, let's look at what road width. Let's try to determine exactly what width we need to pave, what repairs might be needed, what trees might need, because you're really looking, I mean, we all know there's trees in this city that are literally inches from a disaster, especially Lake,
Cox
Northwest
Pike.
Highway,
Oh,
Horn
on
Tavern,
Nashville, Cox Pike.
Cox Pike.
See, those are safety issues to me.
Correct, and that's probably where we are now. This might be a process where we start removing trees before we do anything, because if you remove a tree and it happens to fall the wrong way, it's gonna tear up every bit of asphalt. I was on 840 over the weekend, and they've already patched 2 places on the new part.
Really?
2 places, it was a bad
It looked like it's
dip.
falling off.
Yep,
Yeah, I
and
think
they've
they
already
had
patched
culverts
2
in.
places. So we don't want to do that, obviously, and I agree. I think if you will, if we could proceed, I've written down Lake Road, Northwest Highway, obviously
And they
Horn
said 2
Tavern's,
others here.
Horn Tavern's a consideration.
on Nashville Highway.
Old Nashville, we've already addressed Old Franklin with some other issues. We've got Sleepy Hollow's one that is a big concern. There's been several accidents on that little stretch there, so maybe this is a good leaping off point. We
Great information.
We take we encumber some funds, put it forth, come back with as much information as we can, and then either try to do some project toward the fall, late summer, early fall, or push it to the spring of next year. So that's quite possible.
But we do have the capability going forward, at least from a resurfacing, kind of knowing what y'all have asked for in the past is what's it going to cost a mile. You know, we're getting closer to the ultimate goal.
Right.
Of getting the roads back in
Because
shape.
with the way we're looking at the future right now is Lake Road, Northwest Highway, there's no need in spending a large amount of money on it right now, and it's not gonna be up to standards what we wanna do for the future growth that we wanna have in redoing those roads.
Right.
Because you're gonna land acquisition and everything else we're gonna be going to do it like we're looking at doing it, but we're foreseeing anything. So.
You know, that's one thing that I would submit to you. Do we, as part of our transportation discussion that we're having, do we include this? Because as we go forth, a bond, floating a bond or whatever we do, you know, $200,000 in $13 million is not a lot of money. You know, if we really look at it like that, we've got a box culvert that we've got to replace or widen on Horn Tavern. There's no sense in paving that road and then come back a year later, 2 years later, the floods destroy it, now we got to replace that box culvert. So we
Exactly.
all know what we've got to do. This is like the plan we've starting to get with new roads. Maybe this will be tied
That goes
together.
together
We can
with
marry
that, I
all this
agree.
together and think, okay, let's think a bigger project instead of, we all know that the road will be all right. There'll be complaints on King Road. I've complained, but I'm okay. You know, as long as it's not, and we can patch potholes, we can do some things like that to get by. But I think we need to do it right the first time, like you're saying.
Is that money a time frame? Is any of the grant money in a time frame?
Grant money is, and that's some separate type projects, but our paving is not. But the grant money, right, Don, it's the
Ours is-
2014?
No, we have to have the money obligated for the construction phase by September of this year. We have to be in the
For
construction
what
phase
construction?
on
Cumberland.
Cumberland and Cox Pike. We have-
Separate project, that's your commuter, or what's your road?
Connecting road.
Connector road.
That's the MPO.
MPO money, right?
The STP funds from the
And the
MPO.
sidewalks come with that?
No, that's
That's
just,
part
Safe
of
route
it.
to school.
Safe routes
Right,
together.
they are
with
not
that.
tied together, no, ma'am.
this is totally separate from the active transportation grant and the Safe Routes to School grant. This is totally separate from those projects. This is only for the resurfacing of Cumberland and Cox Pike. Cox Pike from Northwest Highway to Dice Lampley, and Cumberland Drive from 100 to Chester Road. That money has to be obligated by September. We have to be in the construction phase at that time to obligate that money from the MPO, or we lose it.
But that doesn't have to be held up in our conversation here.
No, ma'am.
I didn't see that, I wanted to confirm. Okay, great.
So we can keep that moving, bring the other back as we move forward with some additional information and start bringing the two together to create a bigger opportunity for road improvements.
Any other questions?
Board comments? Questions? Anyone else? Great. Thank you
Thanks,
very
Kevin.
much. Item 7D is discuss and or take action on City of Fairview project. City Manager Hyatt.
Thank you, Mayor. We are still the same place with some of these. One thing we have finished, I say finished, the welcome sign out on Highway 96. The back has been replaced. We are going to put some gravel and do some landscaping, but as far as that's concerned, that project is finished. The Greenway, Don, we're still waiting on the environmentals and NEPA documents to be prepared for that. Bowie Lake Road, obviously, it's underway now. One thing I'm proud of, I'm going to interject, jump in here real quick, that traffic light will be functioning on Monday. Monday it'll be functioning. So I did see somebody stop at a yellow flashing light yesterday, but it was new. It was just the first time they'd seen it, so they really weren't sure, but it's really good to see. The striping's there. Everything is ready to go. So we're really proud of that. I know everybody joins me there. The Lake Van Trail, I've asked Kevin to get some information together on what materials would cost for us to move forward on that, and we're going to also kind of look at some other opportunities for ADA accessible trails, and we'll be bringing more information back on that. I'm going to ask Kevin to give us some more information on an alternate to go forth there. Don had some communication with, and I'll let him speak about the Triangle School in just a minute, Don, so if you'll hold on to that thought. The Roadscapes project, we are... I said the Greenway, I'm waiting for a response back now from, I did contact the state. I mentioned that inadvertently. I get the roadscapes and Greenway confused. Roadscapes are waiting on the NEPA documents to be finished now, so we're in that. Bowie Park Forestry project, I've got preparing the ad now to put that out so we can solicit ads to have the trees taken down. So I do have a sample, and I'll be working on that the next couple of days so we can get that placed and move that forward. Safe route sidewalks, still waiting on the environmentals there. Same with the MPO active transportation. We just spoke about that. In the paving, city paving, we just spoke about that. At Evergreen Park, we have purchased 2 picnic tables and 2 benches that are already they're built, and we're waiting on some drier conditions to be able to put those in concrete so they can't be moved or altered in any way. So those will be placed in concrete. We've cleared a lot of brush. The telephone poles that are on Bowie Lake Road now will be relocated out there. Middle Tennessee Electric said they'd just assume we want them. They would just assume move them out there for us at no charge than to take them back to Franklin. So we're going to have them put out there. We're going to build a bridge across a little span kind of on this end of the lake. So now you'll be able to walk all the way around it. So we're kind of making that a destination instead of someplace you just drive by. So you'll be able to go out and walk and do some things out there, really enhancing that. And staff's going to be working on that project possibly with the Eagle Scouts to do some things there. Let's see, Park 5-year strategic plan, staff is in process of working on that. Transportation plan, obviously we've gotten some information there, and we just need probably to continue to work with that plan and massage it to get it where we want it to be, and come up with some ideas further for financing and put that into motion. The farmers market, obviously we have a plan there. We are working to decide how that needs to be done. What we have is a metal structure type scenario, and I don't know if we need to make it wood or what. The metal's going to last a lot longer. So city center overlay, I'm not up to speed there, but I know we've got to have more discussions there. We've talked about having more discussions. And again, I do have city survey on here, and we are working. I've got some information together, and we probably in the next, after we finish budget, need to talk about that so we can get that rolling and see if you want that survey or how you want to produce it. I've produced 22 or 21 questions. It could be in 3 parts or however you want to do it, but we can move forward. There was another one that popped in my head, but it went back out. I apologize for that. But Don, if you'll address what information you got on the Triangle School from the National Register.
The National Registry, I finally got in contact with them in regard to the letter that we received from the state office. His remark was that the state regulates that situation. and that the only way that it could be removed from the National Registry is if the state approached them and told them that it didn't meet the requirements to be actively on the National Registry. So Dr. Rice has asked for the state office to respond again to that letter, asking them for a more definitive answer instead of should not, if they would include the word shall or will not interfere with that National Registry. So right now, I'm waiting on a response back from the state.
Anything else? That's all.
Questions or comments from the board?
The only thing, I'm excited about the light, so I just had to comment on that. But, so, is there, I'd like y'all to look in and see what we could do to maybe bring the light out in front of Publix, which I know that was discussed, kind of, where we can give that, yes.
I'm trying to plan, I told the mayor a few minutes ago, I'm trying to plan a lunch with Representative Durham. And I'm going to say, your predecessor did this, can you do this? So I'm kind of going to, see what he can do for us through TDOT. And because I would imagine we paid an upgrade fee, I think of almost $9,000. Don, do you know how much that was for 3 down there, and this would be 4. But I have got a plan to start that process, but Don might have information on what the cost was down here.
Well, when Bowie Commons installed those in the beginning to do the same light that's at Cox Pike there, the upgrade was going to be $34,000, but that was somebody else. It wasn't through the state, so it possibly would be cheaper through the state.
So yes, we hear you, and we are starting that process. And also, I've talked to Kevin today about putting road signage on there, because now when we move the stop sign, obviously our road marker will be gone. So we're going to get some that hang down from the arms right here, there, and we're going to ask Walmart to take care of that for us when theirs is installed. So we're consistent. I think they're 12-inch by 36 or something to mark our intersections and the roads, that type of thing.
And that is the new standard now. Anybody else comes in,
Absolutely.
they're putting a light,
That's it.
they're going to go that way.
Don, is there an approach from anybody else as far as interest between where the turn lane would stop from Walmart and where we pick it up at Bowie? You don't have to be specific, but is there any current interest there?
There are 3 restaurants that they haven't actually been into my office, but I've had calls from 3 different restaurants about that area.
Because we're going to have to look at that. That section is not completed. Go from turning on 3 lanes to 2 lanes to 3 lanes. You got something to say?
Saturday, Kevin, we were talking to TDOT representative, and there was mention that about some additional widening through there. There was not a lot of details. Kevin's going to see what he can find out, but they were in that general vicinity with some water, standing water that I let you know about, and that was something that was just mentioned in passing, and Kevin didn't go into a lot of detail with him at the time, but I think we're going to see what's going on. But I think maybe the resolution that you passed asking that be considered maybe has put it on the books a little bit, but we do not have any, but we agree that's just going to be a bottleneck galore.
We'll have to do something, take action somewhere or another to handle that at the time. And I'd like to see it do it at the same time that you're doing with Walmart. And I don't know about the usage fee or whatever we do for anybody that comes in on that, but.
Was it less than three-quarters of a mile?
It was, I think, 2,500 feet.
Something like that, less than half a mile.
And when we sent Walmart's plans up to the state, I had a conversation with the state about even before the construction out here was completed, and asked them could they do maybe a change order and keep going. And they said that it wasn't that simple, but they said that if the city would bring them a plan and bring them half the money, then they would do it.
So what's that?
I don't know. Hadn't been a cost put to it yet.
I'm encouraged that it's a state highway. I'm encouraged that we had Tennessee Economic Development in the House in the last 3 weeks, and I'm encouraged that he said he'd walk over and talk to somebody about that. So we're having people talk to people on our behalf on a regular basis. So we just keep talking, and they keep talking, and things, I'm sure, will continue moving forward. But between here and 840 isn't obvious, and I think there's,
This
people
is
that
kind-
recognize that.
This, Mayor, if you will, this is kind of a project I told you about a little while ago. I have been in contact with the executive director of the Water Authority in Rutherford County area, and we're planning a little trip down there, probably in a couple of weeks, to go look at their decentralized sewer systems. So any of y'all that want to be available, I'll make that known to you. The mayor, she and I have talked about it a couple of times today and in the past. We really feel like it's important for us to go down and have that knowledge when people are here talking to us. We understand it. He says that they are the model, I'm going to say for the Southeast, but which I'm pretty sure he said, but for sure the state of Tennessee, they give tours and they have people coming all the time to look at their systems in Rutherford County. They're really successful with these systems. So that's just it's another project, I guess we could say. So
And it
wanted to
takes
put it in there.
we have no sewer at 840
We have-
off the vocabulary.
Correct, we have plenty of them. So.
Which is a great thing. Other comments?
Just one more addition to keep in mind when we're talking to people about that is our prior discussions about a turn lane up by the middle school. I think that's one of the main things that we really do need to keep traffic flowing and safety reasons up through there.
Chief Harris and I had a conversation about that today, so.
Speaking of 100 in Cumberland,
Correct.
on that hill?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, it's just desperate right there. That's all I got.
Okay. Any other comments from the board? Thank you. 7E, second and final reading of the bill 2013-09.
Ordinance number 804 is an ordinance to amend the City of Fairview, Tennessee Municipal Code, Chapter 3, Section 4, Occupational Safety and Health Program, devise rules and regulations, and to provide for a director and the implementation of such programs as follows. Move for approval.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item 8A, under new business, is discuss and take action on chicken ordinance. Commissioner Carroll?
Thank you, Mayor. The only reason I brought this up is there's been several people mention that they would like to have chickens in the city. And of course, I wasn't privy to what, I'm sure there was a reason they were banned, and I'm not really sure, what that is. But I know that a lot of people are really going towards a lifestyle of where they're gardening and, wanting to be more healthy and do all natural. So anyway, had enough requests, enough people interested. I thought it would be a good time just to come discuss it. I did send y'all a few, like Nashville, some of the information going on with their urban chicken ordinance. So I just kind of wanted to throw it out there and kind of get some discussion because, like I said, if enough people request it, we might as well talk about it.
Mayor, if I may. Larry, have you looked at Nashville's ordinance?
I have reviewed it briefly. I mean, I haven't spent a whole lot of time on Nashville's ordinance.
Did anything stick out at all that would keep us from adopting a similar ordinance?
No, I think Nashville, a couple of things that we need to think about, and I don't know if they took this precaution or not. They probably did. Obviously, theirs refers to chickens per unit of land, and generally would render itself to the Urban Services District. Just from that was just a conclusion that I drew from looking at the requirement. I don't think you've got enough land per unit downtown that's unoccupied to put it in the General Service District. Downtown's urban. I think it's going to, here, I think one of the things that the board needs to think about, and Don can address this for himself, this is can be at least a potential, can be a lot of work for the codes department. I would want to caution everybody right on the front end that there are a lot of HOAs and a lot of subdivision regulations, covenant restrictions that require no poultry. And if we had such an ordinance, that ordinance would not address those type of things. It would just say that the city is, if you meet the city's standard, the city is not going to write a citation for someone having poultry in an area that's authorized by the ordinance. As, excuse me, relating to covenant restrictions on the subdivision or an HOA requirement, we're not parties to those. We don't enforce those. If someone has that problem in their subdivision that is covered by a covenant restriction, that is an action for them and their neighbors in the appropriate, normally Chancery Court. But it would be, and like I said, if Don wants to jump in on that, I don't know what his opinion is related to that. It could be, it would be an additional thing that they would have to enforce if someone had poultry in an area that is covered by the ordinance and don't meet the ordinance standards.
Don, are you not already having to enforce not having the chickens?
It is a problem. I mean, some people will call in to find out before they go out and purchase chickens whether or not it's allowable. But then you have the ones that don't, that you have to go out and send them a letter of violation. And if they make the corrections, then that's okay. If not, then you got to bring them to court. But we've been to court a few times with at least one property owner that I know. Well, he's not actually a property owner. He's just renting the house that he's at. But I think he's been here a couple of times. But not only just for the chickens, but other violations on the property as well. So the only thing, if you write the ordinance a certain way where they can only have 3 or 4 chickens or no roosters, then that kind of becomes a headache for us to make sure they don't have more than 4 or no roosters or anything like that, you know.
Would it be any more of a headache than what you're already having to do now because you are policing it?
Probably so, because once you make it available, more people will have them.
But
So-
if there aren't restrictions on them, then you don't have any problem.
Yes, there's no restrictions
Just like,
on
say,
it all.
telling somebody you can't have 5 dogs, you can only have 3. Doesn't even sound logical to me.
Well, I mean, that's the way the keeping of horses ordinances is. There's a certain amount of horses that you can keep on a piece of property. So it's allowed in a residential area, but the keeping of horses ordinance, you have to have a conditional use permit that has to be issued by the Board of Zoning Appeals. And it also goes into detail on how you're supposed to keep your barn, riding trails that you may have. You have to keep the barn a certain distance away from the adjacent properties and things of that nature. So if you write an ordinance that you have to have a conditional use permit and write different requirements in there for chicken coops and pens and where they can be and where they can't be, then, you know, that may be what you want to do instead of just having it wide open, you know.
Well, I know like the Nashville one says no roosters and there's restrictions and there's also restrictions and some of the others like you have to have so many acres or, you know, so I know that we could put whatever restrictions that we thought was best.
How many complaints you get now about people having chickens?
We probably have 3 or 4 or 5 a year.
That's all?
And we, you know, send them a violation letter, and most time they get rid of them, and we don't have a problem. But then you run into some that will hide them. And sometimes you drive by and having to catch them out, and then you have to cite them again, so.
I think what you're gonna see, if you have an ordinance, and the ordinance is not hard to prepare, once I'm given the parameters as to how much acreage you're gonna have and how many chickens you can have in that acreage, what you're gonna see, and I think what Nashville's gonna see is the same thing that you see with houses. Once something is authorized, more people are gonna take advantage of it, and that's fine. But what you're gonna see is over a period of time, the equipment that is used to contain these animals is going to they're going to deteriorate. They're going to fall below code standards. Then you've got a legal number of birds there with a codes problem container, and that's where you're going to run into the thing. It won't be in your first year or your second year. It's going to be how much did the people put in the containers when they got them, and how long are they going to last? And then once they start to deteriorate, then you're going to have an additional problem to deal with that they don't have to deal with now. But as to whether the city has them or not, if I'm given the parameters that you want in the ordinance, I mean, it's just preparation of an ordinance as far as I'm concerned.
You could too have a rise in the bird flu,
Just
things of that nature. Some diseases that are associated with chickens and poultry or fowl.
Does anybody else have an opinion on this? I mean, I don't know that I have one as far as, I just, like I said, wanted to bring it. I know the way, we're still a rural area, so it seems like if Nashville and some of the bigger cities have come up with some kind of reasonable guidelines, then, we're Fairview. We are a rural area. So I just wanted to bring it up, and I didn't know if anybody else had any thoughts.
I've had interest and citizens that would like to see that for the purpose of eating healthy and having the training opportunity and for the children. So the only thing this was great because it was great information, and I believe, as you said, if Nashville can come together with some type of ordinance and guideline, then I believe it's definitely something for us to look at and to see how it fits us. The only thing, as Mr. Cantrell brought up, is their areas are different. So that, of course, would have to be more modeled to our area because they have smaller lots in the metropolitan area. So addressing that and then looking at this particular ordinance and bringing it back something that fit us, I would be favorable of.
There's a fee for inspections, $25 in Metro, $50 fines first time. I read it, and so it's set up in there to cover any extra cost. It should have us for it. And I'm for it as long as we got the right kind of information on it. We set the right kind of regulation on it. I don't have a problem with it. Everybody wants to eat healthy and everything. Everybody's a garden, so. I'd say, I would say look into it some more and look at some regulations for us out here and bring it back.
Okay. I don't know if we're ready for a motion or if we want to just send it. Okay. Then I would like to make a motion that we give it to the city attorney to kind of give us some guidelines on how to, I don't know, if you would rather us just kind of give you the guidelines, or you come up with doing some research with some of the other communities. I'll make a motion in a second. Sorry, got sidetracked.
It would probably be easier to just prepare a draft ordinance. Okay. And then, because at that time it'd be a liquid document or a fluid document that just says, no, we don't think this is enough acreage. We need to change this to 0.75 acres. And some of us, I might even leave blank in the draft ordinance and let the board tell me what they want to put in there. I will also discuss it with Don to see what, there's not any point in putting something there that he thinks he can't enforce.
Right.
Because that's one of the easiest ways in the world to be a failure, give him something that he can't see, can't enforce. I'd also want to include in that ordinance some statement to the effect that covenant restrictions and homeowners restrictions will not be, are not part of this ordinance.
That they do not override the homeowners
Right.
association or any other restrictions
Right.
covenant.
Because
Yeah.
that's an action between the person living there and his association.
But before you would do just a draft, this one here could be your draft you work off of?
I
Because if
would
you
probably-
created an entire new document of 6 or 8 pages, then I would feel like we went backwards because this
Yeah, I
one
mean,
is pretty
certainly
good.
you would look at that and probably some others too, to see how it, what I'd be looking at is not necessarily the specific wording of some of the provisions, but to look to see things like, we might want to put something in there about the standard of the
Right.
the containers that the, for the want of a better word, coops or whatever, that they be made of, I don't know, XYZ
Right.
metal. I wouldn't require stainless steel because that's tremendously expensive and probably is something they couldn't buy at a reasonable place. But we might go to exclusively metal containers so that they would last longer than the wood. They will rust out, but they don't have a problem with the rotting and this type of thing. But I can work on something and work on it with Don, and then we'll bring it back to you. And I'll look at there. I'm sure Nashville's not the only town in the state that has one, and I can compare those, and there'll be some things to ours that will be original. I don't know if they address the homeowners associations or not, because we don't really have the authority to do that, other than the fact saying that they're not intended to be a substitute for those regulations, and the city is not a party to those.
Okay. I think that sounds great. And then there is, I think, like Gallatin or Goodletts, but I don't know exactly, but there's a few out there around the metropolitan area. So I'll make a motion that we hand this over to the city attorney to give us a working document to bring
Give
back
you a
and forth.
draft.
Yep, draft.
Second.
Any discussion?
I'd just like to see work we've done on it also.
I would do that. If he's going to enforce it, I'm not.
Exactly.
I would certainly include it.
And bring together his experience of people asking, of people complaining, well, what's that, to make sure we're not missing what, could be a problem out there that we want to address.
I normally on those work very closely with Don on those, to the extent that we discuss it, and then it's usually easier then to go put something on a piece of paper, and I'll email it up to him and say, give me your comments, come back with it marked in red, what you think, and then we'll hash it around and we'll come up with an ultimate solution that we can both live with. Because I'll draft it in a manner that fits the city's ordinance policies and its form and its procedures, and then he's going to be the one that's enforcing it, and I would not be in any way trying to dictate to him how he enforces it. That's when, and sometimes we'll send it, a couple of pages at a time. We'll work those out, and then I'll go on to the others.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Is there a timetable, Mayor?
Say again?
A timetable for when you want this to come back? Did you address that?
I didn't. I would assume that I'll have it by the next meeting, or for sure the meeting after that. And if I don't have it the next meeting, I'll give you a report as to where we are and why I don't have it for that meeting. But I don't anticipate this taking longer to get you a draft than one meeting, 2 meetings for sure.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Item 8B is discuss and or take action on the Wild Run Bowie Park 6 miler. City Manager Hyatt.
Thank you, Mayor. We've been approached by Mr. Wilson, and he is present tonight. I'm going to defer this to Keith Paisley, Park Superintendent, and he can answer any questions, and then Mr. Wilson is here for additional questions as well.
We're here bringing this proposal to you to see if this would be something that you would like to see done out in the park. He's approached us, and we have any fee questions that you might have. There's a $500 deposit that he will receive back. Their number of participants, they're thinking that it may be up to 100. And our fee for that is basically $4.99. 499 people would come to $125. If you have any questions for me, or you could ask Lee.
Okay.
Is this something that, so the fees, like, okay. So the individuals, they'll pay the fee to, Them.
Their company,
Okay.
Nashville Run
Okay.
Company, they,
Yeah.
imagine you have a fee. And,
Okay.
I mean, we charge them $125 to come out there and put it on, so.
You recommend any security or anything for that kid?
Nothing that the Rangers probably couldn't handle.
What do you charge the participants, Mr. Wilson?
And just what we just had with Kilo Park in Nashville, just later, we're trying to do a series. So we're trying to we just did one at Kilo Park with Metro, Whole Team, that they finally got one. And then we're trying to do Buffalo here, and we already have the Redlands. That'll be kind of a big one stage race in September. In December, we have Belbed. What we do typically is just like any race, is just trail on the road, we charge, say $25.
Oh, can you come to the podium, please, so we can have your comments recorded? I'm sorry.
So just similar to any race, except it's on the trails rather than the road. The amount might be $20-25 by X date, and then as we get closer to the date, it'd probably be race day would be $40, $35-40 give or take.
Where'd the proceeds go to?
It's basically gone to us right now, but what I would want to do, and I talked to Metro about, be it we give X amount, be it 10, 20%, be it half, I don't really care. I'm not here to we don't make a lot of money off trail races, so it's just more to build active community and those particular parks. Towards that park, I didn't really want to approach Metro too much about it, and I'm comparing Metro just because I've dealt with them more recently, is because who knows where that money would sit. And I don't know what you guys would want, but I'm open to anything really. Next year I have a plan of what I'd want to do with nonprofit organizations, with these races, but I haven't laid that out yet. I'd want to say, twice a year, I'd want to say, say it's $2,000 twice a year, and we do 2 nonprofits. Each gets $1,000. They just give me a write-up of a couple pages, yada, yada, yada. So anyway, that's for next year, but I haven't done that this year. So I'm really open to, what it might be it back to the park, be it we help clean up after the race for a few hours, whatever.
I'm excited for it to be here.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be good for the community. We've already had some small discussion with people having larger races. I know Chief Harris, he's not out here right now, but he'd be excited about having one out on 100, but a longer race. So we've got great terrain for it.
Yeah.
I'm sure you're aware of that.
Have you been contacted by anyone local from Fairview that was requesting you to come help them?
No, not really. Except friends
I'm
that
not
run
sure, the Nashville Running Company, there's another group out there, it's the Striders.
Yeah, I'm from Peter.
How do y'all compare in what you do?
We're for-profit, and I guess they're non-for-profit. So the Striders is, Peter Pressman and his group of runners that meet, and they put on races and et cetera. And then we're a store, so I'm a retail store, basically. That one of my employees has been a race director, and she wasn't able to make it tonight, but she is the one that leads the races, basically.
So
she
you
organizes
seek out venues to hold your races at?
Yeah. And we, obviously road races are more cost and you can make more money off of them, but we don't really, we sell running shoes, but trail races are what we love. We just want to integrate more into the trail system. A lot of us go to Chattanooga, but we'd like to stay here.
But just to go over with Keith, I know we've got the liability issues covered in this, cleanup issues covered in this.
You want me to talk about that? What we did with Peeler would probably be the same, I would assume. We did USA Track and Field is the insurance, so I looked into a few different options, but USA Track and Field was the most cost effective, and they've, obviously they're a big legitimate company, so they would say it's
And y'all would be responsible for signing a waiver to the city?
Yep. And then we have each runner sign a waiver as well. So in last one, Peeler Park, we only had 60 people. We had 3 weeks to market it. I wouldn't assume we'd have any more than 200 people. Trail is kind of like a cult following, a good cult in a sense, but it's not, you're going to have, it's a smaller group. I mean, Chattanooga, Rock Creek down there, they put on great races, but they don't get any more than 500 or 600 of the biggest races. So 200 would be big.
There are a few people here, I'm thinking of Dr. Smith over here.
Jay.
California. They're interested in stuff like that. We'd love to put you in contact with them to help maybe make it grow or whatever the case may be.
That'd be great.
We've got a lot of interest in it, actually.
Okay.
You know, I mean, you're saying you're not really sure as far as nonprofit. Of course, I love that idea about being able to, designate it for a nonprofit. But if it's given back to the park for the first year, if it's approved, there is a new interest fund that was, started. We designated money to. That might be a good fund to put it in just to give suggestions. But, we can always, there's always needs in the park. So that would be a great idea. Now, what about the trails? That's, I know at times there's been different conversations about the safety of the trails. And Keith, can you tell us a little bit? I mean, are we prepared for...
Well, the run is not until July, so we have some time to go through and remove. And they do know it is a trail run, so they're more aware of, say, taking a street runner out to someone. We've had that issue before, where street competitors are running for time, and they're focused on going and not paying attention to where they're stepping. Trail runners are a little bit different. They know it's the terrain out there. But we will obviously go through and try to do what we can to prepare or remove bigger stones and stuff like that, filling in holes, trying to accommodate that.
At what cost to the
At
city?
what cost to the city? That was my question.
Well, we're working on the trails now, so that's,
That's my whole point. If the trails were not up to standards for people to be running on them in this race, why were they open today where somebody could go out and run on them right now?
people run on them every day.
Okay,
I mean,
that's my point. I
right,
don't
and
think
we're
we
not-
have
I mean-
issues out there that we need to go out and spend a bunch of money on.
No,
to get.
no.
Or
We're
we've got a
working on the
problem.
trail system now, but we would go through just to make sure that, some limb or tree or something has fallen on it. It's an everyday occurrence.
Okay.
So.
Well, with it having a $125 payment, let's say, he's renting the venue of our park for $125. So I would question, as they asked about security, it starting at 6 a.m. and lasting to noon, what cost is the city going to incur that's not part of budgeting to assist and to create a safe and well-rounded event? Can we go there for a minute? Because if it seems to be something where there's an expense, then we need to be fair with everyone that if this is something moving forward and we embrace for an annual event, that it's not a cost, that we're not saying, okay, we're going to cost for your event for you to profit. I think that's a circle question there.
We do have rangers on duty or ranger on duty, 7 days a week out there. So his initial, adding the staff, whether it be myself, it's not costing the city anything for me to be out there. We do have auxiliary officers. I'm sure Terry would have them out there if we needed them.
You're going to have judges and field support out there on the trails also, aren't you?
We'll have volunteers. So
Yeah,
we'll
they'll
have
cover
volunteers,
some of
and
that.
typically it's,
Take care of
and
that.
you'd let me know.
What do
if
you
there's-
do in your other parks? So help me there.
Yeah, so Peeler Park, what we did, and it's all pretty simple, but but you guys tell me too. We have starting line, then we have volunteers there. We've got a couple vendors that come in with tents or whatever, they give away food, whatever the heck they want to do. We go out, we run at about midpoint, so it's 6 miles, is not that far, but at midpoint we have water, and it'd be hotter, obviously in July than it was in April when we did Peeler Park, so we've got supplies and water for those guys, and then they finish at 6, so then we've got more fluids and water and that kind of stuff there. And then we have volunteers. What we did was we staked it out. We just put flags along the course, just so people, you keep the flags on the right-hand side, and we've got the flags already, logoed all out. But you tell me if if you're not capable to do that in this park, you let me know. But that's what we did in Peeler Park, and then people just follow those flags. And then what I did is I just swept it basically and made sure there was no garbage, and all the flags were picked up at Peeler Park. We didn't allow any cups. We didn't allow any of that stuff in the park. Just, if they needed water, they brought their own,
Personal
handheld.
container.
Sorry?
Their own personal container.
Yeah, so we just didn't, just didn't want to clean up any more than we had to. What else? If we need to have security, we'll get it. If it's cost effective, obviously. If it doesn't make sense, we'll look into that. Obviously, hopefully sooner rather than later, if this is decided as a yay, to see what cost would be if we need to shut down the street or whatever. Hopefully, we wouldn't have to. Really, what we do, the race started at 8. It took about, for the fast guys, we were 30 some odd minutes. The slower the slower folks, maybe an hour or hour and a half. So most people were done by 9:15. And then we just, cleaned up, got everything out of there we were out of there about 11:10. So
It started at 6 and
started
ended
at 8,
11?
but we get there
Or 8.
set up and that kind of stuff at 6. But it started at 8, we were out of there at 11.
Okay.
So 11:10, 11:15.
Give any medical people on hand?
We did have a volunteer, so if we need to hire somebody, then we can. We just had one of my friends is a Vanderbilt surgeon. She came out and volunteered. So.
Okay, Chief, Chief, any comments?
Yeah, I have a couple of questions. What day of the week?
Sunday, July 14th.
That's a weekend, so we can get volunteers to do the medical standby. I heard the number 200 runners. We've had, 20 and 25 of the high schoolers out there. We have a couple sprained ankles and stuff like that. We have to transport them with the ranger. So we'll take care of that with the volunteers on the weekend. I can always get a couple of them out there. With 200 runners, there'll be a couple of them.
Well, you said 100 participants. Are you?
I'd say 200 max. We're probably sitting, probably more like 100, I would guess. I can't tell you, to be honest.
We would have a crew on standby.
100, I'd guess 100, no more than 200 for a first year event.
Well, I would definitely like to see a joint effort of some type of percentage of a benefit going back into the park for the opportunity for us to work together.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I think the event itself would be well received, not only from the locals, but from your followers or the people that track you or, follow for trail races. Is that what it's called, a trail race?
Yep.
Okay. So I think it's favorable.
What do y'all do normally to promote the event?
We do in-store stuff, and then we'll Facebook, all the social media that you can have. We've got an email following. I've only been in business a year and 4 months, so that's still building, obviously. But yeah, our email, social media, store. I partner with a race company, so we've got them that they can blast it out to 5,000 plus people that follow them. With the YMCA allowed us to drop pamphlets off for the last one, so they'll do the same for this if we swap out some for their races. Who else? A couple other triathlon clubs that I partner with, that kind of thing. So
You'll find most of the business people here in town to be very helpful, very cooperative with you for that.
great. I'd love to work with you guys if we can. So, it's really, I'm open to whatever. If you guys say do this, we'll just, we'll jump how high just to be able to get it done. To be honest, pretty much. If it's not cost effective, we wouldn't do it. And we're not going to make a lot of money. But yeah, we'd love to give a percentage or X amount of dollars back to, be it a fund or whatever. So.
Are you required to have medical? And is that something that he would be required to have and be approved?
Well, like the high school,
Or is that where you just plugged in of your EMT people or your medical volunteers?
Yeah, holding the track meet in the park is not something new. The schools do it. And we've always had somebody on standby even for the 25, and that's why the number 200. We know we're going to have somebody who's going to fall out. And we'd get the hospital to send us an ambulance on standby, other than the one that's normally in the city, dedicated to that event, and they do that no charge.
So it's 2 hours, it's not 2 days.
Yeah, it's just that with 200 people, there's somebody who's going to trip or fall or sprain an ankle or something. So yeah, the numbers are there, and we want to be ready.
plan for the worst.
Plan for the worst, would be surprised if the worst will happen.
You've mentioned giving back 10%, you've mentioned giving back 50%. What are you willing to tell us tonight that you would commit to?
You tell me and I'll say yes or no. To be honest, I don't know. We might bring in, say it's 150 people, or 100 people at $30 a pop, there's $3,000. There's not a lot of cost for us to come out here besides gas and, paying my employees to help set up. We have a few volunteers. So maybe I profit 100, or maybe I profit $1,000 or $1,500 if you want X, or, you just tell me. I'll run some numbers and see.
Like I said, keep in mind that this will go back into the park this time,
I
or
had
whatever.
20 in my head.
50%.
So
You
say
good on that?
$500, you say 20%. I'm open to whatever.
I'm good with that. The mayor's good with that.
That's fine with me.
20%?
I mean,
I
we're
don't know, I
walking,
think 25, I don't know.
I mean, I'd shoot for 75.
we're walking together
I mean,
into
I
the
would take
unknown.
50, no.
I mean, 50 sounded great. You just said it again using the $3,000 figure in 1,500, but
I mean, who knows? I mean, be it we have 100 people, maybe we'll have 75. You never know. I mean,
Well,
it's
we want it to be successful for you and your company and the run and the city and everybody else, so.
Marketing the city is our number one promotion, and we want it to be where it's not a hindsight that wasn't the right thing. And a relationship and a partnership is always a good thing. And we physically don't have the shoes and the layout to run a trail run tomorrow.
And you're speaking of your profit, right? A percentage of your profit.
Right. Correct. Yep.
So.
And I mean, to be honest,
3,000 figure, 1,500 is not right. He said of the 3,000 figure.
It's gonna be, because
his profit would be about $1,000, so if we took 20%, that would be $200, which is still okay with me. I'm not that big I don't think it's a big money making project. I think it's about exposing the city, and that's a good thing. So I don't, whatever figure, but I didn't want people to be deceived that at the end of the thing, he gives us a check for $250 and people say, where's the rest of the money in there? I heard the man say of the profit.
Yeah, and if we can provide, I mean, I'll provide all the attendees, how much they paid, and what we paid. We pretty much already covered all the costs, like timing clock and all that stuff in the first race, in the Puma Park race. So all that, there's not a lot that goes into it. I was pretty cost effective until we build it more. I'm not going to put a race company together. There's a ton out there that already do it. We just want to have a good time, put on a good event, and help explore parks.
Do you have references from the other parks that you can share for Keith to follow up on any type of, or city manager to follow up on just general questions of?
Yep. His name will be Neil Despondé over at Metro, so I'll send his information over.
I make a motion for approval with a 25% profit going back to the park at this point. I don't want to say specifics.
Second.
Discussion.
I mean, I think it sounds like a good event. Now, I liked my deal about the park entrance because it is a fun there. And one day, it is a long-term goal. This is nothing that we expected to have or even, expected to be offered a percentage, so.
Maybe we can talk about that of where it goes.
Yeah,
after
later.
it goes to the park. Any other discussion?
Mayor, may I say two things? Number one, if they're going to do this, I think we should have some sort of I'm sure they had some sort of an agreement with the previous park people. They should provide us with an agreement to sign between the parties, just so that we know what's there. And the second thing is, I'll volunteer something else for the city manager to do. If he doesn't mind, I think should check with TML and be sure. I think it would be covered under our normal insurance operation of the park at no additional cost, so that if something happened and it fell outside of his insurance coverage, that we would still be covered under our normal insurance policy.
And bringing that up, it would be a validation, not that it's not valid, but the insurance would have to be validated prior to the event being consummated or something.
That would be part of the agreement he would propose.
Is that to hold the city an indemnification?
Well, we need to see his agreement. Normally in that agreement, it'll have the limits of his insurance policy, and it'll have indemnification and hold harmless for the city.
Okay.
But I would also like for us to know that in case something fell through the cracks and they said, okay, this is one of the times this only happened once in the last billion years and it's not covered in his policy, that TML would still cover us to the limits of the Tort Claims Liability Act. If the people sign waivers and all this, there's not going to be many claims, but I just like an abundance of caution. I don't want us to be good guys and be promoting the city, and that's wonderful, but in the end, we get stuck with something.
Understand?
I would agree. I mean, we have to. Same with Metro. They have a big agreement that we signed. So yeah, whatever you guys have, or I can send you a copy of that, and you can pull verbiage from it, whatever you'd like. So then I got USATF. I got that interest as well. Then also we use National Sports Council for the last one. I'll probably turn it over to Ultra Sign Up, which is a trail. UltraSignup.com, all trail sign up. They've got we sign waivers on there as well. So
there's them through.
That would be fine, but I would want us to know that our TML, it's tailored toward the municipality, and that they're going to cover us also.
I make amendment to my motion that TML approve through the city manager's information.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And we were in discussion on the original motion of approval with the 25% towards the park. We have a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Item 8D, discuss and or take action on the July 4th, 2013 Board of Commissioner meeting. City Manager Hyatt.
Thank you, Mayor. We do have an odd meeting this year that happens to fall on a national holiday, and wanted to get your guidance on whether to, we're going to have it or to cancel that
Make a motion to
meeting.
cancel. All those, discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you, sir. 8E, discuss and or take action on recommendations from the Planning Commission. Director Lavorne.
You have a recommendation from the Planning Commission, recommendation 2013-4. Two items that were discussed and approved to send a recommendation for approval from the Planning Commission. There were annexations. One was located at 2950 Fairview Boulevard. The other one is 2931 Fairview Boulevard. If you choose to act on this, the requested action would be to ask the city attorney to draw up the necessary ordinance for the annexation if you want to proceed forward.
Move to approve.
Second. Discussion?
Where is this property, Don?
It's out toward the 840, just past Walker Road.
Okay,
He has a big flag in his front yard,
Yeah.
horses and stuff.
okay.
Now, were these voluntary?
Yes.
Yeah, so there were ones that y'all had sent the letters and people that came back?
Yes.
Okay.
Wonderful. We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. City Manager, items for discussion.
Mayor, I actually have nothing else tonight. Thank you.
Staff, comments.
So far in April, we've run 54 calls, and I don't have anything else on top of that. So,
You weren't even supposed to talk. When your turn. Thank you. Any other staff comments?
Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, you have our code's monthly report. Planning Department, we reviewed conceptual site plan for L&L equipment out at 1540 Highway 96 North. Final site plan and design review for Tiger Imports to build a new building in Evergreen Industrial Park. And we recommend approval to the Planning Commission at their next meeting. The Planning Department is compiling data for a proposal for some road impact fees and environmental impact fees schedule, and we'll present that to the Planning Commission at the next meeting. Building Permit Department has issued 11 building permits for the month of April. The total construction cost for all those permits is $999,238. Issued 28 electrical permits. Complaint Department received 4 complaints, and we forwarded those to the appropriate department for a resolution. We fielded 32 calls for service-related orders, forwarded those to the proper department for work to be completed. Building Codes Department reviewed 1 commercial building plan for compliance, completed 30 building inspections, and issued 4 certificate occupancies. The Codes Violation Department received 8 complaints for the month of April. There were 22 violation letters sent out, 4 letters of failure to comply, and no citations written.
Thank you. Excellent report. And I have marked down here that Kevin was to give a report. No? the street department report. I think you were absent last meeting is why I wrote that down. If you're not prepared,
To
that's
bring you
okay,
up to
but
speed, I mean, right now, we're back into the mowing season. We have stopped picking up leaves. If you do have leaves, and you do call in, as long as they're bagged, we'll come pick them up. Brush, we're still picking up brush. Usually takes about 2 days for us to hit the whole city, make sure the cut-in stacked towards the roadway. Other than that, that's where we're at with the department. That's all I have.
any update on the baby?
Yes, we welcomed our first child, baby Justice, David. He was born on the 24th last month, and he's doing really well. He's at home with mom right now, and he's been fussy the last couple of days, but all in all, we've had both sets of grandparents in town the last month, so we're truly blessed to have him on board at the house.
Excellent.
It's not 3, but it's 1, and he's a handful.
Yeah.
He's nocturnal for now.
He's got y'all trained.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, any other staff comments at this time? It's meandering, it is.
Well, it was because I really wasn't prepared, because it's not the end of the month.
It's not your turn. It's not your turn.
Well, I want to give this, we have taken over 2,000 calls,
That's not good. Okay, go ahead.
but that's. In April? Yes.
Okay.
Y'all been busy.
Anything the citizens need to be working on?
Just drive careful Saturday. We'll have plenty of officers out here
Okay.
to help with the clean sweep.
All right. Anything neighborhood watch or anything that the people need to be concerned about?
No, we caught the last burglar. He's in jail. But, they do need to be concerned about burglaries, and neighbors need to watch neighbors and always call us
Okay.
for anything so we can respond.
Was that a home breaking or a car breaking?
Well, we arrested the one that was broke in just outside the city.
Okay.
No, we didn't get the new signal light when it starts on the 6th. We will be working it. We will be giving some warnings for a while, and just till everyone gets used to it. So
Okay.
bear with us.
Great. Thank you. City attorney, comments?
Mayor, for the second meeting in a row, I have nothing further at this time. Thank you.
Communication from the commissioners. Commissioner Sutton? Vice Mayor Johnson?
Nothing, Mayor.
Commissioner Vassell?
Thank you, Mayor, and I'm going to violate mine and Mr. Cantrell's gentleman's agreement here. City Manager, can you give us an update? I've gotten a number of inquiries, given that we had to cancel Mayfest. They're concerned about our Independence Day celebration.
Oh.
Have we started planning? Where are we with that? Can you kind of update everybody?
Correct. We have started planning. It's on as usual. It will be July 3rd. We will start lining up vendors early in the afternoon, and hopefully people will start showing up around 4, but really everything kicks off really good and strong after 7 o'clock because we're mindful of church on Wednesday night. Fireworks will be somewhere around 9:45. Same group as last year. We've already paid a deposit, so we are moving forward. We have not lined up entertainment as of yet, but we have sent out information applications to vendors that we've had in the past, and so we are moving forward with that.
Do you expect that you will need additional funds to be appropriated, or is it going to all be fine with the budget?
I believe at this time we'll probably be okay. Crystal
Good
might
answer.
have. I think we're in good. I think we're in good shape.
Okay. Thank you for that information. That's all I have.
We're gonna make sure we're in good shape. Let's put it that way. No, sir. Yes, sir. That's the plan. We hope you get up and sing a couple things and maybe. Public
So
parking
it's
lot will be wide open.
karaoke.
Commissioner Carroll?
Yeah, just sorry I was late for those that have been watching since the beginning, but I expected the beer board to go a few minutes later, and I'm sure a lot of people in the audience did too that came in tonight. But the way that it was set up, I was a few minutes late, and I apologize. Just always this is a perfect example about if you take the time to communicate needs to the commissioners, regardless of a stance on it. But, we can always bring it up here and for discussion. So I think that communication's key, and if it's not just you and your neighbors, then, communicate. Thank you.
Thank you, and I want to remind you, Clean Sweep is Saturday. Show your pride in Fairview. Keep Fairview beautiful. And I am working with the seniors at the Fairview High School for the Mayor Youth Advisory Board. They are rallying behind this. They want their town to be as beautiful as it can be. So everybody pitch in 8 a.m. Saturday morning, Bank of America. Help the Chamber of Commerce and keep Williamson beautiful. And we'll be picking up litter on different roadways. We'll direct you. Any other discussion or comments? Looking for a motion for adjournment?
Second.
First and second. No discussion. All those in favor?
Bye.
Good night. Thank you.